From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the old adventure, life itself. This is Star Wars Ranked. I'm Cat Knapsack, and we are joined, as always, by Joseph Scrimshaw, Jennifer Landa, here to rank things in Star Wars. And today we're going to be doing vehicles, ships, anything that moves that isn't alive in the original trilogy movies. That's right, our favorite vehicles from the original trilogy. Joseph, we're trying to keep the parameters loose, but you do agree dewbacks are out.
Yes. We were talking before we recorded and agreed that yes, anything that you can sit in or on that is mechanical. So, I mean, by that definition, Salacious Crumb rides 3PO, C-3PO. So, sentient. As long as the mechanical thing is not aware of its own existence, it counts as a vehicle.
You know, Jeb, missed opportunities, the original trilogy, I think, to have R2 kind of transform into some sort of moped like they did in GoBots with one of their characters.
I was doing some research on Fortnite. I feel like Fortnite would be the place where that could happen. Is that true? Is that accurate?
A lot of things can happen, good and bad, in the game. I spent too much time playing.
Sure, there's some horrible Transformers R2 mashup that I am vaguely remembering.
Yeah,
a toy. Yeah.
Oh, crossovers. So that's it. You know what we do around these parts. It's Star Wars Ranked. It's not a contest. It's not a game, but it always is a fun journey to see how we get from 10 to 1 here as a team and individuals. Our own tastes, our own brand awareness, you know, over the years, vehicles that we love that people connect with us. It's all on the table. But we are beginning 10 to 1. Joseph, I randomly selected you to be our first out of the gate. The Force led me to this today.
Okay. Now, how does that math work? If I start, does that mean I get 3 or 4?
You get 4 today.
Oh,
you get 4. Jen and I got the 3. You get the 4.
I don't know if I'm ready for the burden.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Not ready for the burden with Scrimshaw.
But I am ready for number 10. That's not a burden at all because I have one that is close to my heart that I feel is appropriate for a number 10. My first favorite vehicle in the Star Wars original trilogy films is the T-16 Skyhopper, which I feel counts because unlike other vehicles, we see it in 2 forms. We see it in the background parked,
yep,
and we see the toy, which delights me. I think it's such an important vehicle on multiple levels. I think just in terms of pure storytelling, it's one of those elements that really grounds Star Wars, especially when it came out in the 70s. And so weird and so different and so relatable because the T-16 Skyhopper is Luke's really, really crappy hand-me-down $500 car. That was what you could get a used car for when I was Luke Skywalker's age. Not anymore. And you know that he's got parked in the garage, that it's his training wheels before he gets his super awesome Corvette of an X-Wing. And the toy, the fact that the toy was included in the first film, the model, just from that 1977 perspective, it makes it through the eyes of the main character that the vehicles aren't just cool for us, the audience. They're cool for the characters in the real world. They're given personality. Falcon explicitly given personality, but vehicles as a concept are given personality in the galaxy by Luke having his junky starter car and his Hot Wheels toy of it that he's playing with, so bummed out that he can't be flying around in the real thing. It's such a great small moment that really means a lot. And of course, as happens with Star Wars, been built on beautifully over the years, including the detail that I love of Kenobi knowing how important it is for him to have a toy version. So he dreams of being something more. I guess maybe more dreams of being his true self.
Yeah.
Because Kenobi knows he's going to have that sense of adventure. And if Luke grew up and is like, you know what, I got no interest in flying. I like farms. I think Obi-Wan probably would have been, wow, I was wrong. But giving him the toy allows Luke to be the person that he was destined to be. So T-16 Skyhopper it is for me.
Big well said on that, setting the tone in a great way there. And I I hadn't really ever thought of it in the direct sense of like I used to collect Matchbox and Hot Wheels like a lot of kids growing up, but like having that like ooh in your hands with Luke and setting the tone there. But also I was confused, and I know there's a special edition kind of memory, it all kind of, but like the fact that we see it there, I don't think I
Mhm.
knew for a long time. I don't think I ever
Mm.
connected it. Jen, you're a little more perceptive than me. I didn't think it, I didn't think it was sitting in his garage.
Yeah, no, I didn't. It's so interesting when you said it. I was like, wait, oh, right, of course. I don't know why that vehicle reminds me of Tomorrowland in
Hmm.
Disneyland. I don't know if at some point it was there was toys there. I have no idea. Maybe it's the time period taking me back to my
Mm.
early childhood. But it is kind of a moment of him with a toy that has been recreated a lot since, right?
Mhm.
It's like we see even with Wim,
Yeah.
playing
Mhm.
with his action figures,
Right.
yeah, so many other films and TV shows have kind of replicated that, and it also was cute because it's like he still is he's a young guy. He's a kid.
Zoom, zoom. Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
restless
Right,
kid, yeah. This one doesn't need power converters, I can just make it fly with my hand. Yeah,
right,
this
right.
is, very cool, and I think yeah, I was talking about the idea of it, but the actual design of it, there's a lot of ships that end up kind of echoing that general shape, that interest in that shape, the
Yeah.
Imperial Shuttle, which who knows if we'll talk about,
Mm,
but ends up evoking that shape. But I think there's just something about it that's the very, very clean lines of it look a little bit more like the designs of Tomorrowland, a little bit more of that
Mm.
sort of Jetsons, perfect, economical, streamlined future.
right.
Yeah, an imagined future. Love
Mhm,
that. Yep, love putting the Ford Fairmont in Luke's garage, and then
mhm.
upgrading a little bit later on. Powerful stuff there. And yeah, even though we are talking about the movie, so things from Rebels or Rogue One or Solo, that era not factored in. I love that you brought in what happened in Kenobi. I think it's a powerful use of it beyond just a fun member berry, which is I know sometimes what things get tossed aside as in the discussion world. Not here, and a powerful use of something that means a lot to Luke and the future of the galaxy. Well said
Mhm.
indeed. Jen, we're off and running, but don't worry, you're not next, Jen. I'm next.
Good, good.
I'm giving you I'm giving you 8, so you could get up to number 2. So we're gonna go with me, and yeah, look, I was thinking deep, maybe too deep on the vehicles I love, the things that I have talked about over the years, and things that are very much part of my Star Wars journey. But I also wanted to go back to the early days of not having all the information in front of you, not having all the cross section books, not having podcasts to go say, I'm this, I'm that, but just what did I think about often as a kid and wonder and want to find out more of? And I'm going to go with the number 9 choice, Sandcrawler.
Mm.
Oh,
So we're talking about the movies, but I'll jump quickly to Mandalorian. One of our favorite things around here is this Jawas, off-world Jawas, their Sandcrawler having a patio deck up top. But the fact that we got to see inside it a little bit more, that we got to go up above into the flight decks or the control deck, with the souk, that great joke and beat, but just and the ramp coming down. I spent, and this is before Attack of the Clones. I spent years wondering what the hell's. Oh, excuse me, I was a kid. What the heck is going on up there? I was obsessed with this Roland City for these scavengers I didn't fully understand, and mesmerized by the possibilities. And again, before the books came out, before that, and when I think of the original trilogy, you think of the Sandcrawler. I think it's an important image. I think I go to the end of Rise of Skywalker, the fact that they got one in there. And that it was a practical model and a tiny, and they shot it like the old style. Like I just love everything about that. And yeah, then Attack of the Clones. There's that one shot with Anakin's talking to them, and I just remember kind of like wanting to zoom. This was before the Instagram zoom, but I wanted to zoom in and see what was life inside this. This is also maybe connecting to my recent obsession with van life or converted school buses
Mm.
into houses, where I'm like, I don't love RVs, I don't love camping, but I'm always obsessed with life on the road. What would that be like? And the Jawas and the Sandcrawler scratch that itch for me. So a classic vehicle, but maybe a wild card for me. Jen, thoughts on the Sandcrawler?
I love it. It's such a great choice. And the thing I love about the Sandcrawler is that it's a gift that keeps on giving, like you said with the Mandalorian. When I saw that, I was just like, the nostalgic feels, classic Star Wars. It's just like a tank.
With beds.
Right,
and
right.
a food court.
With lots of treasures inside.
That patio deck, Joseph, is maybe just for that one, but I gotta imagine it's a thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there's some ambiguity in if you just watch A New Hope of like, is this their business van? They go around and they do business, and then they have a nice village somewhere.
Yeah.
Certainly in The Mandalorian, and I'm sure many cross sections, but in The Mandalorian, it's very much clear of like, no, this is we have a whole society here. That we have our patio. I'm sure that they have a conversation pit somewhere in there. They've got a society that lives in that place. It's like a traveling, dorm building where they do their business and they party hard.
They party hard. They want Cadbury space eggs. They want it all. So there you go. And yes, there's been a lot of Lego versions and toy versions. I don't really have any of them, but I am going to probably eventually pick up a good cross section of it just so I can sit and dream about life.
Yeah. I think there's lots of images throughout Star Wars of in the belly of the beast, swallowed by the behemoth and having to face your darkest fears in the gut of the monster, kind of imagery and ideas. Some of that sometimes in Star Wars, literally in the gut of a monster. But this is like one of the first images. The only thing we get to see in the Sandcrawler is really 3PO's perspective of being swallowed up by his fears and surrounded by death and pain for fun. It is fun, but that's interesting. That's the only thing we see of the Sandcrawler is from 3PO's perspective, is it is a monstrous hell place.
And where we get to meet a gonk droid, right? Like it's all there. It's all there. All right, number 8, Sandcrawler. Jen, number 9. Number 8 is you, and the pressure's on, finally.
I feel like we're playing a card game and we're trying to I'm trying to guess what cards you guys have, because I have my core list here that I cannot put these at number 8. It would be blasphemous if I put them at number 8. So I'm kind of counting on you guys to maybe have some of these.
Uh-oh.
So I'm shifting, and I think I'm going to put at number 8 the Cloud Car. Which I don't know. I mean, looking at Skyhopper, Sandcrawler, I don't know, but there's something about it. And as I said to you guys off air, I'm not bringing the specs. I'm not bringing all the, I'm not a car person in real life. I'm not much.
Manufactured by Sinar Industries and
right.
blah, 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 BBY. Yeah.
I'm all guts here, guys. So I chose the Cloud Car because of the orange color. And to me, when I was a kid, I did not have this vehicle, but it just was so like Jetsons like. That's to me what I was like, this is the future. Someday we're going to be flying in the sky.
In pod cars.
But there was also something very retro about it. Obviously the orange color, but also it was reminiscent of what is that thing called where it's like it's a motorcycle that has a little thing attached to it?
Little sidecar? Yeah.
Sidecar.
Okay,
sidecar. Yeah. Right. It's kind of reminiscent of that. I just thought it was a really neat design. I loved Bespin. I loved it kind of zipping around. It seemed like the kind of thing that I would fly in. I would never want to be in a TIE fighter or even an X-Wing, but a Cloud Car, and then I could have my buddy there, whoever they are, right? I like that. I could get behind that.
Or an enemy. You got to work together. We don't know.
Yeah, you could lock somebody up in there. Yeah.
Right. Because you can have a pilot and a gunner, right? But is that it? One in each?
I mean, look, we're not getting into specs.
Done a deep dive on cloud cars in a while. I will.
All right.
I'll look it up.
All right.
Yeah.
I've flown them in video games.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah, man.
Which one?
I'm trying to remember which one. It might have been in the Battlefront. I've done it in a couple of video games, but
that first Battlefront redo in 2015 range, right? Yeah. And the other ones too. And I think even in Battlefront 2, there's part of a mission with Iden. I recall flying one, but yeah, it's hilarious and fun to fly them because they are, as you describe him, Jen, this little putt-putt Jetsons car. But it's kind of fun to just put around in a space battle. it kind of increased my love of them. Yeah, I fascinating choice. Very Tomorrowland indeed, and imagine future at play in Cloud City on Bestman as well. And it just makes sense that the cloud cars are there. And Joseph, there's just such a these are the other vehicles in Star Wars kind of vibe that I love.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big thing for me. The Storm 4 twin pod cloud car featured twin pods connected by a repulsor lift engine and were fitted with light blaster cannons. Each car was crewed by a pilot and a gunner. So there you go, Jen. You were spot on. Your gut was right about the cloud car. Yeah.
I'd be the gunner. Yeah.
I mean, that is really like an unequal distribution of responsibilities, I think.
Right?
Of, like, the pilot has to do all of the flying, and then every once in a while, the gunner's like, "I'll put down my sandwich and I'll take a pot shot at the Falcon."
Yeah.
Shot. Like, I don't think they're doing a lot of actual battle. They're only like the point of that gunner is to miss.
Right.
Oh yeah, low level of responsibility.
I think, and there was a level of joy at work when they fired the Falcon. Like, finally got something this week. Can't wait to file this report. Yeah.
I love them. I think a big thing, like you were intimating, Ken, is like back in the day, it was very cool to see the few vehicles that weren't aligned with either side. This this is like the sensible Toyota of the galaxy that you might fly if you're not at war, but just have, a grocery run to make. And you kick the gunner out, you pick up some groceries, and you fly your cool thing home. I don't remember the design history of it, but I also just think it's a really cool design that like a kind of a fine little ship was designed. And then somebody's like, but wait, what if there were two? Now it's weird and cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Excellent choice, Jen. The cloud car putting around in the galaxy is our number 8 list here. Our choice on our list here of favorite vehicles in the original trilogy. Joseph, you are up here now with number 7.
This is a very difficult because it's already starting to get real. But since we're in the Empire Strikes Back and in the on-a-line territory, we'll just make sure that this one gets on the list. And I am going to put on Boba Fett's fire spray ship from the Empire Strikes Back. That is one of the designs that I think made Star Wars stand apart. Like the X-Wing and the TIE fighters in the very first film are like, well, these aren't just Jetsons, right? These aren't just like the kind of sci-fi spaceship that you expect to see. And then there's a lot in the Empire Strikes Back that builds on that design. But I think Boba Fett's ship, just that sort of like the weird logic of it, that it's like the scariest turtle, strangely. I don't know, the way it's like it lays on its back, but then it's up here. Like I don't know. The weirdness of the shape, the fact that the whole backside you either lie down on it or it stands up and becomes just nothing but rockets, nothing but exposed engines. It's hard to go back and just think about the ship as it was in the original films and not all the great additional information, finally getting to see it actually function on the inside and fully and rotate the way they did in Mandalorian season 2. And also building on it in Attack the Clones with the phenomenal sound of the rockets, the blasters themselves, obviously the super cool mines, but the actually just the sounds of the blasters are fantastic. But going back to just Empire Strikes Back, I think the myth of Boba Fett that built up is partially because of how cool his ship was. And all Boba Fett really did is stand around, take a couple pot shots at Luke, and outsmart Han Solo. And we spent years on playgrounds and older people in the bars talking about Han and Boba Fett's rivalry. And if Boba Fett was going to be the mystery man in armor who was as cool as Han Solo, he had to have a ship that was just as cool in a different way. Just the absolute weirdness of that ship is fantastic. To have it be just so weird. Like if you described it to somebody and then said, and it's really scary, you'd be like, bullshit.
It's a bubble.
It's a big egg with an elephant nose that has blasters on the tip of it, and you don't even understand how it works. Then it's got little flappy wings like a manatee on the side, and it's scary. Bullshit.
And it has a lot of storage room.
Yeah.
This is great. And this is not a controversial pick. This is one of the greatest ships of all time. The controversy might be so low, but we left it open. We left it open to these classic ships showing up, and I think this is great. And it is truly a ship that is Boba Fett. Like, it's an extension of him. I kind of grew up with that idea. Like, this was not only the ship, this was just him sitting in his extended armor, almost, in a way. That's how I took it. And fast, I talk about wondering about what's inside the Sandcrawler. Yeah, wondering what's inside the fire spray, and getting a very good answer in Mandalorian. Though I have been convinced that it does a little bit of the Spice Girls tour bus in the movie Spice World, where it's bigger on the inside than it should be because you need it to be. I still want to see it all. I want to see a long shot. I don't know, but I love seeing it in action in Mandalorian and answering questions we had from the original trilogy. I never owned one, so it's one of those. Still have envy for those that have it or had it.
Yeah, I never had the original toy. I had one of those small die-cast ones. And, playing with it in the fins on the side rotated so you could lay it down, but you could move them around. Man, and I coveted the toy. Someday I'll get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great one. Good at number 7, I think. It's to me as a kid and older person, I was like, this is just not very practical, which is why it fits Boba Fett so well. It just seems like a dangerous thing I would not want to be in. But if you're on Wikipedia, they show all the different, all the different parts and stuff, and it's like the TARDIS. It is bigger on the inside than I would expect, which is classic Star Wars. Always full of surprises.
All right, TARDIS, Spice Girls bus, it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Love it. Big decision, big choice. Wonderful selection there, Joseph. But now moving up to number 6, and I do feel it's time for me to make sure I'm representing. And look, it's not a part of every other word out of my mouth like it was in 2015, 2016, but I got to represent the Y-Wing. Been loving the Y-Wing since it was the toy I happened to get. That was the place that I got, and therefore you form a connection to what you do have. So how much I know people still think of me Y-Wings. I had a friend I hadn't talked to in years in the business, got busy with their career. My career went separate ways, haven't heard from a while. I got a weird DM one time. It was like, hey, what's your address? And I thought, well, okay, he's already married, so no, it's an invitation. And about 4 days later, a package showed up with just a Y-Wing from his personal collection. He's like, I saw it and I thought of you. So it runs deep, but it's ugly. It's long. It looks put together, maybe with some space duct tape. And that's why I've always loved it. I love, you gotta, the bombs. And if you had the toy, you had the bomb you actually could drop. I've long since lost that. I've always said for years, it's the workhorse of the Rebel fleet, meeting the fancy, popular X-Wings, which definitely have their place, and in and out of Star Wars is one of the greatest designed ships, I think, but we'll see if it shows up. But I've always, because I had to, I formed a connection with that second place ship that is out there doing the work, slow and steady. And it's fun to fly in video games too, though even in the video games, I'm like, this is really slow, but takes a punch, keeps on ticking, and gets the job done. And shout out again to Rogue One, where the Y-Wings really had their moment, and I cheered too loudly in a press screening. So there you go. Y-Wings, Jen, Y-Wings.
The Y-Wing and your name go hand in hand. It really is, which gives me a new appreciation for, like you said, the workhorse. It's funny because I have a micro machine of it, and I am scared, even though I know it's like the workhorse. It's fragile. Like the back end of it, I'm worried that at any moment it's going to break off, which is part of the reason why I haven't put it on any jewelry. But it's there. I have it. I was going to turn it into a necklace, and I'm like, maybe we'll see.
It is It is fragile, and the story I'm sure I've told before, but like I held on to my original one from 1983 to about 2019 when I moved, and I pulled it out of a box in my apartment, and it had just broken, like the little fins and everything had broken, and I made this kind of rash. But one of those like, let's just do it. Let's just take old Yeller out back, and I threw it in the dumpster. And then shout out to a longtime Force Center listener, First Rate Nate, who for a birthday got me one. I have it. It's all sealed. It's in a box. A 1983 Y-wing. So one day I'll maybe take it out and give it its love. But it is fragile, which was funny for being a steady workhorse ship that is there. But anyways, Joseph, you know, I've had too many T-shirts with Y-wings on them over the years. So.
Yes, and you are certainly not alone in your love of Y wings. A lot of people out there are, I think, deeply attached to them. I think my love of them is mostly from the video games. Like I always liked them, and I always thought it was cool that it was more than just X wings that added so much flavor.
Yeah.
But the video games really have consistently for decades leaned into the truth of the ship of like it's got bombs, which is cool. It's really slow, agonizingly slow. But it's got great shields.
Yeah.
So there's something very, very relatable, especially right now, to very slowly getting your work done while constant being plastered with hits as your shield slowly goes down. Like the X-Wing's amazing, but the Y-Wing's a little bit more real life.
Yeah.
And I always liked them for that. And I didn't know as a kid, but I love the additions of the Y-Wings in the Clone Wars with more armor and really fulfilling the vision of these are stripped down to hot rods. They should have more armor on them and they shouldn't be as fragile. Sorry, kids, your toys shouldn't be breaking. But the Rebel Alliance couldn't afford better toys.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true. Yeah. It featured prominently in so many Rebel storylines. I love that, but I wouldn't mind it a Andor season 3 arc of just building a Y-wing. Let's keep the show going just for them. But there you go. The Y-wings are on the board. Had to make sure they're there at number 6. But Jen, you take us to the top 5 here with your next selection.
Our list is looking really good. I'm pleased. This is good. This is good, and I feel good about my next pick. I think that this is. I could put it higher, but we're not going to because I think we got some bigger good ones. I'm going to go with Jabba's sail barge. The katana.
Oh wow!
Ooh.
Yeah, I know it's a little low, but it's all right. It's all right. So this well, at least a low in my heart. Luxury sail barge. It's got the moody vibe inside with the lighting, and as we've learned over the years, there is a lot going on inside there. He's got above like the area that we see on screen. There's like, what is it called? Is the what is it? Oh, the privacy lounge. That's right, for his special guests.
Oh no!
I don't think I'd want to go there.
Oh no, Jabba.
I don't know what's going on in those types of parties. But it is there. That there's going to be good food. Apparently, he gets 9 meals a day. There's live tanks to store the food.
Where did you get that factoid?
I don't know, on some like thing, like like one of those like drawings from one of the books somewhere.
Okay, that's so. Just you said it with such authority. He gets 9 meals a day.
He gets 9 meals a day.
2 snacks.
They have tanks for live food, so the food is going to be fresh. I'm sure that there's tons of pillows to lounge in, beds and whatnot. It's going to be a good time. Even R2 is like having fun serving drinks. He's like, I'm serving drinks.
He takes it serious.
He takes it seriously. And do you guys remember at San Diego Comic-Con that year that they had the sail barge? Do you remember that? It was amazing.
The sail barge. I remember one con. They had Jabba. I remember you taking, too many photos in front of it, right? They'd ask you to leave, right? No, I do remember. I don't remember a sail barge. Wow.
Yes, I have pictures of it somewhere. I think it was like 2012 or something. It was outside of Comic-Con,
year before,
and it was just like a big giant prop of it, and I squealed with delight. I think I tried to get on it. I can't remember, but it was so cool.
Ma'am,
was it just from the outside, or could you get in?
You could not get in. Oh, you know what? That was the year that I ran as a Millennium Falcon behind the sail barge that they had for that. Remember that course for the Force? Do you remember that? It was like a charity thing. Yeah. I think that was what it was, and it ended up at Comic-Con, and they just kind of displayed it there.
God,
wow.
I think.
Okay.
Gotta
I mean,
find the
Privacy
footage.
Lounge, they should have. That's such a Comic-Con thing. Like, do you have the badge? You get to the Jabba's Privacy Lounge.
Missed
You're not on the
opportunity.
list. You're not on the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crap, that's amazing. I gotta look that up.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll find it in my photos.
No, great choice. This is definitely a top 5 pick. I think it would be a mistake to overlook it. It's certainly a vehicle. It's not just a vehicle. It's a vibe. It's a mood, and the anchor of one of the most classic, iconic Star Wars sequences and set pieces. So it absolutely. In fact, now that I think about it, Jen, like I've been jumping off skiffs and sail barges for the playgrounds my entire life. It is literally a springboard to a love of Star Wars.
That's right. The diving board off of a pool, pretending.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
For the
fun.
skip,
It was
for
a
all of
skip.
it. Yeah, for all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were kind of joking about the Sandcrawler being sort of a flying conversation pit, but this is totally like I remember as a kid getting confused with like, wait, that didn't happen in his palace; it happened in the sail barge because he basically moved the entire palace
Yes.
onto his ship. And he does seem like he has that kind of vanity of like you go to some rich person's house and like see this living room, it's exactly replicated on my yacht. Like it's so like it's such a great fantasy thing, but what it is it's a massive party yacht.
Yeah.
Where Jabba's I think sure comes in to wherever he has it parked and is like, yep, this many people fell overboard this time. What are you gonna do? Mysteries at sea.
May have been pushed, may have not been. We don't know. That's amazing. Yeah, no, love it. Yeah, Joseph, you're so right. Like, it just kind of is such an extension of the palace. I don't know if as a kid, you definitely know, you see what's going on, but yeah, yeah, it's the art from the artwork to the band to the dais he's on. It's all there. It's all there.
Do you think you ever took Han in Carbonite out on the yacht?
Oh, and just kind of taunted him like, "Oh, look at that! Look at the sun. You see the twin sunset? Oh, it's so nice." So, do you feel the breeze? Do you feel the breeze, Han?
He liked him as a conversation piece on the wall. He's like, yeah, put Han on there too.
I could see it.
I could see that. Well, Jen, an excellent conversation starting choice there. Beautiful. But Joseph, the pressure's on you as we're on number 4.
Yeah, we're getting down to it. So
Yeah.
I had fun with the Skyhopper, but I can't F around anymore. And I need to make sure that it is on the list because I don't want this to be one of those, hey, we all thought somebody else was going to take care of it situations for me. I got to deal with my truth. And my truth is absolutely vanilla as it is I need Luke Skywalker's X-Wing on this list.
Oh,
and specifically Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. This, there's a relationship with the Skyhopper that we talked about, and the X-Wing being like this sort of the step into the real world for him. But just the design of the ships, the TIE fighters are wild. Boba Fett's ship is bonkers. The Y-wings kind of start to evoke hot rods, but the X-Wing is it's okay. That is the closest to like a rocket. A single person, plane, but made just so beautifully, bizarrely unique by the literal X-Wings and all the personality of being locked in attack position. And just that mood that it is Luke graduating and we're not sure if he can handle this and all that to then it being the ship that blew up the Death Star and then going into Empire Strikes Back where it's his personal ride and the crashing, Yoda lifting it. And I remember as a kid at some point in 1983 being like, wait, is his X-Wing in Return of the Jedi the same one that he's always had? Because that was important to me that it's his X-Wing, right? He isn't just like, one's available today, I'll take it out of the fleet. And then kind of having to deal with the emotions of like, well, no, he left it at Cloud City and the Empire would have taken it. And I don't know what happened in Legends, and I know in the comic books now, Charles Soule had him go back and get his X-Wing. So it is the same X-Wing. So maybe Charles Soule went through that as a child too. That relationship of like, it isn't just a cool ship that there are multiples of, because it obviously is. It's that it's Luke's X-Wing. And there's something like that to me as a kid relating to Luke, wanting to be an adult, wanting to start his adventures, that it wasn't an interchangeable ship. It's the one that he graduated into. It's the one that he destroyed the Death Star in. It's the one that Yoda taught him an important lesson. It's like, it's his. It's got to be in his X-Wing. So this is not the X-Wing on the list. This is Luke Skywalker's X-Wing.
Yeah.
This is an excellent choice, Jen. Your emotional reaction to Luke's Red 5. Red 5. Checking it.
Red 5, it's amazing because obviously I knew there were all sorts of X-Wings, other X-Wings, but it really was Luke's. There was something magical about that. And for me, even now when I see an X-Wing, I just get like chills because it's like, that's the ship that, took down the Death Star. So this is a great choice. Yes.
I love what you're talking about it, Joseph, being his and the power of that, because that carries on too. Like, think of even Poe Dameron, his first one that we see him in gets destroyed, and in the comics there's like the black one, then it comes back Last Jedi, like, and there's then he does a modification to it, Last Jedi, and comics might fill in some of those. Hey, here's how it happened, but it's just that I think comes from what you're talking about. That is Luke's X-Wing, and I kind of remember, and I forgot about the Charles Soule thing, but I kind of remember as a kid, a little bit older, when you're maybe in high school, college, and you're having those conversations around the table at a restaurant after class or in class because you're not learning that's not his it's not the same one because he left it on cloud, and having that horror kind of come over me of like, oh God, because it was his. And I gotta imagine there's probably some interview somewhere that Paul Duncan or the late great J.W. Rinsler pulled up of someone going, hey George, is it the same one? And him like, I don't care. Yeah,
it's
but
as accurate
to us it was that was his. That was he left his stuff in there. That's his. So I love that.
He left his wallet in that X-Wing. All his credit cards. Yeah, and I had the battle damaged X-Wing. They put out it was slightly more gray, and then it came with little decals that you could put on, and I definitely put them on. And then my brother and I joked / actually wished for years of like, wish we could get battle damaged Luke as an action figure from Bestman. And now you can get tons of removable hand beat up battle damaged Luke. But also because of that X-Wing, that phrase will always be in my mind of wanting different characters in their battle damaged mode.
Yeah. Okay. This is a great choice. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah. I know. This is tough.
Crap.
So yeah, we haven't touched.
There's so many. We have a tie.
We're in trouble. We're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
We had our little fun. Skyhoppers and Sandcrawlers and Cloud Car. We were all full of whimsy.
Yeah, you're so right.
Oh, guys.
All right, I'm up with my number 3. Jen, you're next. Joseph takes us home. We are going to have some honorable mentions, close calls, but I just fear I fear there's going to be some apologizing. And looking at there's like one that I talk about it for a long time and it means the world to me. There's some Hall of Fame ships, but then I'm thinking again when I go to the original trilogy, like what it invokes a lot of emotion. What was something I reacted to young that I still do to this day. And I'm gonna have to put the classic and Start a Fight, because I call it, not with YouTube, but I call it an AT-AT. But that is the AT-AT, the all-terrain armored transport as featured in Empire Strikes Back, and then a little bit in Return of the Jedi, but has been an inspiration to many other things in Star Wars. When one shows up, or you get an updated version, the Guerrilla Walkers in Last Jedi, and it's Ryan and his team paying tribute to the feelings of that rebel officer looking through his binocular and seeing the stomping feet of the Empire, literal oppression coming towards them. It's still one of my favorite shots. Spoken about it for years, but just that look at there's the foot going up the leg. Plus, you'd heard the rattling. It was so awe-inspiring and scary as a kid, and that is carried over. And then again, a lot of imagination, inspiring things going on there with the All right, how many can fit in the head? How many troops can you carry? How many Kenner figures can you put in? When Luke goes up and he slices his leg, like could he have gone up inside? I spent a lot of time doing that. How did they get there? Right, like now we have a simple answer of how the Empire transported their walkers down. But as a kid, I was like, did they fly down? Did the legs unfurl? Did the legs flap? How did they get there? How did they get there?
And a giant staircase they walked down.
Giant slow staircase, an escalator from a Star Destroyer down. The fun thoughts he had as a kid that maybe get answers as you get older, but at the end of the day, when I think of Star Wars and I think of vehicles overall, at some point a walker's going to come in, and we've talked about it for years. And Joseph, you've experienced what so many have too, of just what video game is showing up with a new way to take down the walkers and play that Hoth sequence over and over and over again. And that was one of the first things, especially in the mid-90s, like of feeling like you're in the movie and you're going around that scary walker trying to bring it down. So I have to go with the AT-AT right there. Number 3.
Great choice. I feel so happy. It is the symbol of the Empire. It's beast-like. It's almost animal-like. It also helps me with my number 2. So, but just even like the stop motion sequence of it, even though I knew like how they did it, it still was terrifying. And I loved imagining what would I do looking up at that. Like if I was there, what would that feel like? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think that didn't they have one in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Did they have that?
Yes. In the Hollywood Land section where the, Star Tours, whatever, yeah. No, it's there. Yeah, I think I have too many phone photos that I'll never use or show because they're bad. Of just looking up at it. Yeah, and that connected right to what we're talking about, of going back to a kid and wondering what would you do and how would you take it down? How would you get up there?
Yeah.
No, I had faith that out of all 3 of us, this would show up. It is an absolute classic, and it's been on my mind a lot recently because I think a lot of the design of the Empire does echo, imperialism and the march of rigid, mechanical, merciless control, but nothing as powerfully as the very, very cool AT-AT. It is, I think it's one of those things where the quote unquote limits of technology actually really benefited the storytelling, because that stop motion has that rigidness to it. And like it isn't just like the literal relentless march that is crushing everything in front of it, and the feeling of the boot coming down, the way the head turns, and then the way they did the stop motion of the chin guns firing is just like so rigid and so merciless, of just everything in front of us is being demolished, and the only way to take it down is through ingenuity and scrappiness, and using tools that weren't meant to be used that way, to look for the way that this rigid imperial march can be stopped. Is it's powerful. Powerful in 1980, and particularly powerful now. Look for your tow cable ideas, everybody. Look for your tow cable ideas.
Yes, we all got a shot. Good shot, Green. I also enjoyed I still do. It's not like one of those little cinema sin ding type thing of like, I love that they drop them off rather far away from the goal so that you could just slowly see them approaching, and their hubris is that there's nothing you can do about it. I've always kind of interpreted as that, as the Empire being like, no, we're here. We're coming to get you. Coming to get you. Get ready. Slowly stomping your way.
That video game thing I'm always fascinated by is there was such excitement for me to play that scene, because it is just thrilling and iconic. And I think video game designers, starting very early on, wanted the thrill of looping your snow speeder around and taking it down. But I think that video game designers wanted it before they were good at actually having the controls work. So what I remember is I was always so excited every new Star Wars video game to take down the walker, and then they weren't designed particularly well, so it was really hard to do, because everything else would be like 2D and flat, and then you'd be like, how does 3D space work? How can I make my thumbs go for 3D space? The amount of times I've crashed trying to take out a walker in old school video games.
Oh god, and the thrill of hitting that tow cable, and then you get 1/2 revolution around it, and then it's just gone and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like Shadows of the Empire, right?
Yeah.
Shadows of
Was
the
that-
Empire, and I think Super Empire Strikes Back might have been
Right.
an early one as
Oh.
well for the Nintendo.
Right.
Maybe the actual the non-Super NES Empire Strikes Back might have had it. Yeah, and then Shadows of the Empire had a version, and then
That was
Some
brutal.
and then
Battlefront,
all the
yeah.
Rogue Squadron various
Right.
games.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
there were a ton before we get to sort of the modern era. Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone doing a supercut out there if they haven't already, but I'd love to see a supercut of all the video game versions of trying to fly around the
Yeah.
Duke.
Yeah. I also, since we're on the topic, very curious what you both think, but I also just think what is this called is perhaps in an era of incredibly dumb conversations, perhaps the dumbest. Whether it's called at or AT-AT is just, when were you born? There's like meaning behind it. There's no taste behind it. There's no correct behind it. It's just, when were you born? Because if you grew up with the original trilogy, you called it the AT-AT. And if you grew up at a later time, that name wasn't used. It was AT-AT. It feels to me like debating what's the best year to have on your driver's license. Well, it's the year you were born. There's no debate. One isn't better. It's chronological, and that's it. Ken, do you have any feelings along those lines?
Oh yeah, this was especially the early days of like Jedi Alliance and stuff. It was approached with a spirit of fun, but I remember it was a record scratch moment for me. And it wasn't necessarily Mod was AT-AT, and I was at it, and we'd have fun with that. But like, there was a record scratch moment of seeing how passionate people were for it, and the certainty, and my certainty goes to the commercial. That's where I get it from. AT-AT, no batteries included on your AT-AT. There's all that there, but it was, you're right. There was this weird little early peak in the digital media explosion of just like silly debates, but then that one would get real pretty fast. And it is just about generations, and but then the argument of like, well, do you call it ATSIT? You mean a chicken walker? No, I call it a chicken walker. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
And then I remember there was in the comment section like some listener was like ex-military and was like, no, it's like we call it the Humvee, but that's the AT-AT of because it's not, and it got real fast to the point where, much like pineapple and pizza, which I love, we're not going to have this conversation anymore. Seriously. Like, it's AT-AT 76, baby. What do you want from me?
Yeah, I think I go back to the commercials as a kid, as you mentioned, like they would say AT-AT in the commercial. However, when I started working for Lucasfilm as a contributor and hosting, they told me you need to pronounce it AT-AT. And I was like, what? They corrected my pronunciation on a lot of things, which was very helpful. But it's like, what do you mean is AT-AT? You guys in the commercials were saying AT-AT. Like, you can't. Oh gosh, it's just so hard for me. I can't say it.
Yeah, and I guess too, like, hey, Ponda Baba is the name, not Walrus Man. So I guess we don't rely on Kenner. So again, remember the first Battlefront, the 2015 release. They had one of the designers up on stage, and whoever the host was brought this up, and they said, "Oh, it's AT-AT." And I remember, I think like Maud even like looked over at me. He was like, and I was like, that's not fair.
No, they changed it on us. They changed it.
Yeah, and I just think
trying to rewrite history.
It's like Lucas's love of going back to the first film of saying like, I'm not going to tell you how to pronounce it because people pronounce things differently in the real world, and I like that genuineness. And some people say Han, and some people say Han. Right. I bet you could get stormtroopers or clone troopers to fight over. Wait,
yes.
The technical, it's AT-AT. Be technical and some looser.
Yeah,
the stormtroopers like AT-AT. It's come on. We all speak colloquially. What's the problem? Like, I think in universe it would be a fun debate.
Yeah, I mean, someone's like, we call it the Iron Stomper. Like, who knows? Like, yes. But even here, I agree. It's one of the silliest debates of all time that gets real fast. We're all the same team here, just in having fun with it. But you can see pineapple on pizza, AT-AT versus AT-AT. It's all there. But that's the number 3, which means Jen. Oh, here you go, your final one of the day. But our number 2.
All right. So since you took AT-AT, I was gonna put AT-ST, the chicken walker, but I feel like the AT-AT covers it because it's the original, right? Sure. And as much as I love the chicken walker, just because it looks like a chicken walking, and it's Return of the Jedi, right? I'm gonna put it aside. And I'm going to do, and hope that you guys all have this at number 1. I don't think you will. The TIE Fighter. The TIE Fighter, for me, is so weird and scary, and the noise. There are times where I will be out in the real world and I will hear something similar to the TIE Fighter, right? And I'm like, I have this instinct where I freak out. It looks, the design itself is totally impractical. It looks like a death trap. They're like eyeballs or like bow ties, right? Like what are they? But for me, the ones that I love the most are the ones from Empire and Return of the Jedi that look more bluish, which I think actually goes along with the actual toy that they produced later on, right? It kind of has like that bluish, grayish color. It just nostalgia. It's just all of it. All of it is just so far out there that I think it's such a fantastic design. But as we talked about, and I've talked about before, in the video games, it's terrible to fly. It's squirrely. It's impossible. I keep crashing. I would never want to be in it in real life, which is why it's fine that the bad guys have it.
Yeah. And I love that they built that into, like, they're really, really fast. And they got no shields. So like, and they're a swarm. They overwhelm. And man, if you ever attempted to go like, well, whereas the Empire, the good guys fly in an X-Wing in a video game, then fly in a TIE Fighter and feel how you are treated by the people leading your cause. One is well equipped with lots of backups. You can get out of there if you need to. In a TIE Fighter, you're screaming along so cool, and like, you turn and explode.
That's
immediately.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a separate side conversation. I still think of all my love of the Y-Wing, X-Wing is the best of flying games. Maybe a little A-Wing, but X-Wing.
Balanced. It's so balanced.
Yes. Yeah.
But close those attack wings and go faster. Beautiful.
Jed, I love that you described it as squirrely, because I could just see an early test pilot. How did it go? A little squirrely up there in space. What's a squirrel? Don't worry about it. It's I always think we have to have it on here in terms of design, the sound design, absolutely classic. And a lot of people might invoke how it was used in Andor season 1, and I think that is one of my favorite moments in the series, if not Star Wars of the last 5 to 10 years. It is used so well, and the sound, that classic sound, almost heard again for the first time as the ship flies over the sheep herders down below. I love it, and I love all versions of it. I love new ones, even when it gets a little wild. And over the years, there have been some wild ones, but I don't mind it. But I'm Jen. Your choice kind of speaks for all versions in my mind. I loved the TIE Interceptor showing up, Return of the Jedi, and then taking away that design flaw of peripheral vision, turning left and right at the intersection. Love that. The TIE bombers, Joseph. I know you love the TIE. Was the TIE Strikers, right? Which are
TIE Striker in Rogue One is probably my favorite iteration.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I think, it goes to the brilliance of the design of the first film that simples the story that starts as a simple good guy, bad guy, and then gets much more complicated, but that the ships are so easily identified and so different from one another. We haven't talked a ton about sound design, which we could for all of these ships, but TIE Fighter, maybe the most memorable sound design. Like, the X-Wing cannons are distinctive, but the scream of the TIE Fighter engine is like, that is like one of the classic Star Wars things that really puts a stamp on the menace of the TIE Fighters, and also like the physics can go jump in a lake if we got something cool to do here in Star Wars, because you shouldn't, maybe the engines don't make any sound, and that's just the speaker sound that TIE pilots play when they're flying. They're just screaming all the time. Yeah, the distinctive sounds, the cannons, I was gonna scream of a TIE Fighter.
I was gonna say we will have to do a favorite sounds in Star Wars, but the one rule is no clips. We all have to make the sounds that we nominate.
A very hard guessing game.
Maybe hard to guess. The final thing, Jed, before I let you have the closing remarks here on your TIE Fighter, is I love that Kenner was like, looked at the movie and looked at what we had with the TIE Fighter and said, you know what this needs? Easy pop-off explodable wings, because these things go fast. Like, boom.
Yes. Oh man, I gotta bring my. I have one. I always
Oh.
wanted to hang it from the ceiling,
Mm.
in action formation. One of my favorite things growing up was that boys, young men, even up until not that long ago, would challenge me. Well, yeah. Well, what does tie mean? Please, guys, come on. Twin ion engine. It's just like so stupid. Like it was
And of
as if,
course, we should be calling it the TIE fighter, right?
right, exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
you are correct, sir.
So
Yes.
ridiculous.
like that's how. Okay, that's a separate.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
happens.
subjective
It happens.
wars with an enemy we don't need today. That's fine.
Yep.
Right. Oh, one last thing I'll
Go
say.
on.
If you want an easy costume, I saw this at Celebration one year. They were TIE fighters and they were wearing a gigantic like cardboard tie
Mm.
with boxing gloves. And they're like TIE fighter. So
Okay.
easy costume for those of you out there.
Okay. All right. Beautiful choice, Jen. That absolutely belonged on the list. A lot of things to talk about there. Yeah, you could almost do like a Star Wars ranked with your favorite tie versions. So many to choose from now, which as it should be, such a wonderful Star Wars thing. But here we go. We will share some close calls, some honorable mentions. But right now, the fun is to be had by Joseph, not the pressure. No pressure. Felt you have the floor, sir, with the number one selection.
Oh, yes. So I think these are always difficult, but for me, this one isn't difficult, and I don't care how obvious it is. Since we didn't do any sort of reserving in the Hall of the Fame, the
Yes.
number one from the original trilogy, and I think maybe the number one for all of Star Wars, has to be the Millennium Falcon or Falcon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see where we're going. All right.
But-
Okay.
but did I scare you, Jennifer? What did you think I was going to do? Is that-
I didn't know.
Gotta
I
be
was
one
led in
of the
different directions.
Ewoks' homemade gliders.
Yes.
Can
Best
you
vehicle in all
imagine?
of Star Wars, right?
Oh my gosh, the keyboards would be
mean-
clacking.
Yeah. We could just hit the button and go, thanks for watching. Everybody can fill in their own love of the Millennium Falcon.
Mhm.
But I think the uniqueness of its design is so essential to Star Wars. The ILM, John Dykstra, could have worked all of their magic. And if the Falcon had, like it was going to be originally be the Tantive U4, which is an amazing ship, it
Right.
would not have had the same humanity. And I think that's the biggest thing is the Falcon's design is cool. The sounds are cool. But Lucas has this long relationship with technology where he creates this whole trilogy that's about respecting the human and the organic. But he also grows up as a kid who loved cars and loved hot rods and put all of this sort of humanity and personality into them. They're not just a piece of technology. They mean something. They're freedom, their excitement. They're an expression of individual personality when you parade them around and compare yours to your friends. And I think the Falcon is maybe the biggest version of Lucas combining his love of technology with giving it personality, humanity, warmth, individuality. That ship is alive. And the more and more storytelling we get, we learn it literally has 3 brains, and we've met some of them. The just absolute endless personality of that ship, the moral of don't judge a book by its cover. You can go on and on about the Falcon, but for me, what makes it the most valuable is the design. And in the design is the humanity of technology. That technology is valuable, but only when we craft it as an extension of ourselves and an extension of humanity.
Mm. This is the answer. We have established here today that the Star Wars Ranked Hall of Fame is like the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, not the Baseball or Football Hall of Fame, where once you're retired, you're off the board. We years ago, I think, put the Falcon in the Hall of Fame. But like wrestling, you can come back and compete at WrestleMania. And I think that's the way it should be. Yeah, for the list we're doing, this just makes a lot of sense. And everything you talk about, Joseph, the extension of a character, 2 characters, Han and Chewie, and this home away from home, and it is their home. But for as a kid, again, it's an RV in space. Spaceballs made the joke, got it, good. But it's beyond that. It is it sparks so much imagination too. Talking about cross sections before the cross sections came out, and again too, it's a little wonderfully wonky in the inside of what actually works. I for years, I don't think until I gotta admit, look, I'm a little bit of a slower beast. I get it. I don't think until Force Awakens I understood how the guns worked. I don't think I don't. Wait a minute. They're here. Here. What's it? And then just thinking of Galaxy's Edge. You talk about how powerful this design is. Even a long time Star Wars podcaster, been around, talked about how much I love, showed up there and turned that corner on that first day I was at Galaxy's Edge and wept, openly wept on this hunk of junk. It means the world. We were there at various screenings, both press and public. And when Ray says the garbage will do, it's an applause break for a hero returning. Without a doubt, it's why it earns its spot. And it's got a gaming deck. Like who can sit down and play some games. Jen, it's a fun thing, and I'm glad it's here.
This has to be number one. I'm so glad. I don't know why I thought it was off the board, but this is right to end on a hero of Star Wars. It is its own character. It is representative of so many people's childhoods. It's also a great message, right? That this hunk of junk still got it where it counts. I would say that about us as we get older. But that, like, don't discard it, right? It's still worthy. It's still of value, and Han and Chewie know how to make it work. Yeah, this is wonderful, and this is why when Han says Chewie, we're home, it's like we all felt that. It wasn't just about like, yes, the actual like returning characters. It was like, this is Star Wars. This is home, the Falcon. So great number one.
Yeah, we could do a ranked of like best Falcon moments, but I think like how much Kylo Ren hates that ship. That great line. They hate that ship.
Yeah,
it's so powerful to just be like this hunk of junk that is so individual. Is just a thorn in the side of fascism for decades. Is pretty great tribute.
Great tribute indeed. And you said it earlier when you introduced it. Falcon, doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's all the same.
British people pronounce it Falcon, I guess, as I've learned. Falcon.
I love it.
Falcon.
I love both. Falcon. Whatever comes out is the right answer in that moment. Great choice for number one. Before we get out of here, though, we'll share some close calls, honorable mentions. We don't need to go long and deep into this one here, but the first one I'll throw out there is the 74Z, the speeder bike. Love them biker scouts. I talk about them all the time, I know, but a lot of that is in part because of the little space motorcycles. And speaking of wonderful sound designs, just that sound showing up, so many other speeders, it just makes me think of Star Wars. So, it could have been easily on the list. Did I go with the Sandcrawler and get too cute? No, because I still love the Sandcrawler, but speeder bike could have been there for me. Jen, any other choices for you?
Yeah, I'm rethinking my list now.
You can't.
I know. Instead of Cloud Car, I probably would have put the X-34 land speeder, Luke's land speeder, just because it's just so iconic, and I got to sit in one. Remember when they made that one red flyer for kids, and I sat in it? It was fantastic. I still look on Facebook Marketplace every now and then, but where would I store it? And then the last one, which I should have put instead of number 2 for TIE Fighter, the Star Destroyer. Come on. Come on.
The one thing is, it's pretty big.
It's like the big moment my dad always talks about, where he's like, when that ship it just kept going and going, right? It's that is, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I let you down with TIE Fighter.
No.
TIE Fighter's a great choice.
That's what's fun about these lists. If there weren't painful omissions, there wouldn't be any fun and challenge to these lists.
Yeah. Right. And then we also wouldn't get those comments we love of like, how could you not put? Unbelievable. Akbar.
This is how, because there's that meme of the person, the man who's with one woman looking at another, because that meme happens, and I turn around and see the skyhopper, and sorry, I was supposed to be with a Star Destroyer, but the skyhopper caught my eye.
TIE Fighter.
Yep.
Star Destroyer.
Great choice, Jen. I have a couple other maybes, but Joseph, what are some of yours?
Yeah, either the TIE bomber or Vader's TIE Advanced X1. I think
Yeah.
they're both like arguably Vader's is the first slightly altered TIE fighter, TIE bomber, obviously in Empire Strikes Back. But I love the any TIE fighter with the little bit of the bent in wings design. TIE bomber was so cool as a kid. And the other big one for me is the Tantive 4, which from the outside I think is really cool. It has become incredibly iconic. But from the perspective of design in 70s, it was the one that was a little bit more like, yes, spaceship on the outside. But the inside looked really different, and was kind of so many important things happened there. And that design with those curved hallways is, really iconic in Star Wars. So that one's up there more emotionally than for design.
Right. Great choice. The T-47 air speeders, as I'd call them, snow speeders, pop up a lot. If we were doing the old rank and we all had 5 country lists, that probably would be on my list. And I got to shout out the Lambda class shuttle. Specifically the shuttle Tiberium and Return of the Jedi. Just so wonderfully elegant for such an evil an organization, which is probably part of the problem. But I love it. I love all the variations that show up as well. Jed, any final ones for you?
No, I think that all those honorable mentions, those are good.
We could also just keep listing every other vehicle because they're all amazing here. I don't think there's one I dislike, but yes, there as well. Joseph, any final ones for you?
No. Because there aren't that many in the original trilogy,
Yes.
and pretty soon we will have simply just said them all.
Yes.
I'm proud of this list. I think we did a good job.
Yeah.
I think we started whimsical, got dead serious by the end. So perfect.
No, absolutely. There it is. So the list is the T-16, Skyhopper, the Sandcrawler, Cloud Car, Boba Fett's Fire Spray Starship, Y-Wing, Jabba's Sail Barge, the Katana, Red 5, Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, AT-AT, AT-AT, the all-terrain armored transport. And then we have the TIE Fighter, and then Joseph takes us home with the Millennium Falcon. Han and Chewie's little RV in the sky that we love so much. There you go. That's our list today. Thank you for listening, watching, hanging out with us. We can be found on social media, Blue Sky in particular, at ForceCenter Pod. Other spots as well if you want to find us there. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter or Fourth Wall. Shop link down below here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, leave a nice comment. And I'm joking. If you have an option you want to put in there and put it with some passion, we want that as well. But like this video as well. Podcast available in a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. I'm going to choke on something.
Did you see the Millennium Falcon and start crying?
Let's just go. I'm trying to. Here we go. And Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. I'm Ken Knapsack. You can find me coughing there anywhere. Jen, where can they find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram at Jennifer Landa. TikTok, if you still have that on your phone, at Jennifer Landa 1138.
I do. Joseph, before I cough again, take us home. Where can they find you?
No, I'm sorry. You're being attacked. It's terrible. You can find me on Blue Sky, and you can check out my website, josephscrimshaw.com, which has links to everything that's going on with the film stuff I'm working on, and my blog, Finish Your Monsters.
There you go. That is it. We will see you next time. Star Wars has been ranked.